What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast. We'll have Phil Perry alongside in just a second. But first, big news with the Patriots. As you know, they've made a move at quarterback, and this is Patriots offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt discussing that move. This is brought to you by Shaw's, perfecting the art of fresh. Right after that, Phil and I get into it.
Offensively, we're not where we want to be, from a production standpoint, especially in the pass game. I think that leads to some of that decision, and also the fact to see his growth and development over those weeks of practice and what he's put on the practice field. I think two of those combined, we're close. We're a couple plays away from being 3-2 and feeling a lot better about where we are right now. But the reality of it is we're not. We're 1-4, and at this point we need to find something to get us a chance to win on Sunday. And we thought with Drake's development over the past first part of the season on the practice field that he was ready to step in and take over.
All right, you just heard from Alex Van Pelt. Here's Phil Perry and I outside post-press conference conversation. And the first question that occurs to me is it seems to be unanimity that a change was in the offing needed to be made. And the other part of that is that Maye isn't going in there without having made the necessary improvement.
No, I think that there are two factors at play. Yes, on the one hand, would you say this is somewhat of a reactionary move? I think that's fair. You're reacting to the poor performance of your offense, but you don't make this move unless you feel like Drake Maye is ready enough. He won't be where he should be in year 3 or 4, but he's ready enough to go out there and hold his own, and he's proved it in practice. So you put those two things together, that's why you get the decision you got.
If Jalen Polk scored the touchdown at the end of the game and the New England Patriots were right now 2-3 instead of 1-4, what do you think would be going on right now? Would we be out here talking about a quarterback change?
I still think there's a decent chance of it, but it's a great question because I don't know. And we can't prove a negative, and it's really hard to look into a crystal ball that is non-existent that I don't have. But I think if they're 3-2 and the offense is still near the bottom of the league but not at the bottom of the league, I think you have avoided it.
I have a sense that throw was kind of a last straw. Had it been a better throw, had you not been able to say, if that was a better throw, he would have been in bounds, then that would be the tipping point for Jacoby to still be there.
I think there's the potential for that. I didn't hate the throw. Maybe it could have been slightly better. Ted Johnson told us on the breakdown this week he thought it could have been slightly better. I think they might look at some other throws, though, Tom, and say, if you'd hit that one, or that one, or that one, then we don't need that throw at the end of the game to win the game. Then we have it in hand. Then we can run the football out and drain the clock because we already have a lead. Because you hit, for example, Pop Douglas deep down the field on a play action, deep over route. I think those might be the throws they go back to and say, we just need a little bit more.
Drake Maye is going to be thrown in against one of the best defensive fronts in football. It sounded from Van Pelt's accounting of things that he's going to be okay, especially against the blitz.
Yeah, he told us on Thursday that in the blitz period on Wednesday, so first padded practice of the week, early in practice, they went through, and he went 6 for 6 in the blitz period. And this is my understanding, too, after talking to players in the locker room. Third down, against the blitz, his performance has exceeded expectation. And it's not necessarily, Tom, because you think, against the blitz, he's scrambling around. Right. He's making off-platform throws. He's doing Drake Maye types of things. No, he's playing within the structure of the offense. He's playing from the pocket and succeeding there. And that has been, I can tell you, players in the locker room have been more impressed by that than they have been by any of the physical gifts that he's exhibited out there.
And that, to me, is one of the most important things. The reason Drake Maye is here as the number 3 overall pick is because he had unique skills before the Patriots even got a hold of him. And that is, to me, what the Patriots need to tap into. You need to have him not have chaotic plays, as Dante Scarnecchia called it, recess. But you also have to be able to tap into his ability to make plays off platform, which you have been saying for weeks. Here's Drake Maye when I spoke to him on Wednesday, or we all spoke to him, but I asked a question about him being able to allow himself to be a playmaker while still playing within the structure, which is very structured for a structure.
I think early on, just try to take what they give me, find completions. I think that's the biggest thing for young quarterback going in there. And then from there, just don't try to hunt up off platform or off play. Off schedule throws. I think just kind of feel it out and just play football.
Try to come to you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing sometimes is just you try to get outside the pocket when you don't need to and little things like that. So just play within the pocket and trust my feet and just go out there and play.
We're going to chase that Drake Maye sound with some from Alex Van Pelt. Phil asking Van Pelt about the ability of Maye to continue to be himself and a playmaker.
I think that's going to be natural for him. Knowing when there is a crease he can maybe sneak through and use his legs. I think that comes natural for those guys. Obviously on timing and rhythm's a big part of what we need to get done based on their ability to rush the passer. But there will be opportunities where there'll be an opportunity for him to use his legs and hopefully pick up yards and protect himself there at the end of that run as well.
That to me is one of the most interesting things. And I don't know if they're going to be able to find that against Houston this week. But over the next 12 games, if he is in there the entire time and survives, you want to see him being able to feel comfortable and tap into the North Carolina Drake Maye that made him a coveted player.
Yeah, you want him to be the guy they drafted him to be. You don't draft him because you look at him and you say, well, we could put him in this nice little tidy box.
Right.
And keep him right in there and have him do everything exactly the way we tell him to do it, because that's just not how football is played. And so what Alex Van Pelt is saying there, I think if we were to put a different filter on it, is when there are people getting after his ass, he's going to start running around. And that's where he can be, in my opinion, at his best, or he will be eventually as a pro. Best quarterbacks in football, Tom, they work tremendously off script. He'll have to be able to find that balance between running the plays and playing a little bit of recess.
So here's the funny thing. Alex Van Pelt, we've seen at 52, having played in the league, having been a coordinator and gone through the whole thing, he has, I believe, a very regimented way of what he wants to see a quarterback do. A very structured way of saying, this is how you're going to succeed in the NFL if you do these things. But he can't be a helicopter parent over there. He has to let this Drake Maye be a free-range kid. Do you think he's comfortable with that?
I think he will be.
We'll see, won't we?
I think he will be because he knows he has to be. I think the offensive line won't allow for Drake Maye to play every single snap the way Alex Van Pelt wants those plays to be played. I think he understands, listen, if we have the opportunity to play within the structure of the offense, on time, in rhythm, for Drake Maye to trust his feet, that's written on the wall in the quarterback room. Trust your feet, because the hitches after you take your drop will tell you which route you should be analyzing and where you should go with the football. There are going to be so many occasions with Tom where he's just not even physically able to do that because of the pass protection they've been getting this year. Van Pelt has to understand that, and so he knows he's going to see some off-script sort of plays that could benefit this offense, I think, immediately.
I want to talk about the move this week and the conversation around the move as we've gone on. The Patriots need to ooze competency right now. I've said that a million times. Post-Bill, what you need to do is show that you are organized, on message, on task, and things are coming out exactly the way you want, and that you're dictating the terms of how things happen. And I think that the fact that this news came out, and Mayo said that he expressed disappointment, actually. He was disappointed a little bit, but it's fine on Wednesday that the news came out before he was able to tell the team, I think is another instance of just not oozing the level of competency that you want. And I look at that situation, and there was a lot of conjecture on the radio, on our airwaves as well, about, well, where did it come from? My thought as I listened to the conversation yesterday with Beetle and Zoe and with Felger and Maz, as they're trying to suss out who it might have come from, the notion that anyone within the building would undercut the first-year head coach less than 30 days into his tenure by letting that out to the national media, I think is absurd, especially when, not absurd, it could happen, but the more likely suspect would be the agents. If Mayo told them on Monday night, then it would follow that if Rapp is getting it or Schefter is getting it, they generally get a lot of information from the agents. The only reason this is a germane conversation in terms of trying to figure out where the source is because there's constantly focus in this market on an overreaching owner and ownership being more involved than people are comfortable with. And when the blame, for lack of a better word, is laid at the feet of the owner, I think it's worth saying it doesn't make sense to me that Robert Kraft is picking up the phone to call Ian Rappaport on a Tuesday in October to tell him who the starter is when his head coach clearly doesn't want that out there. It's self-defeating.
Unless there is some bit of information you feel like you're getting in return
if
for
you're
letting
the
that
owner,
out. I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. I have no idea what that would be. I don't know how that would benefit them. And so I'm with you. It seems more realistic that this would have come from someplace outside the organization. But to get to your point on competency, I think you have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, well,
I just with everybody in their first year, everybody who matters, right? They're basically in the first year of operation in that role, aside from ownership. and it's going to be really hard. And Jerod Mayo's acknowledged it, to his credit. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to be learning on the fly here. And you've brought it up many times. This was not the plan. Even the best laid plans, in the face of dysfunction, they do not survive. And so Jerod Mayo probably wasn't supposed to be the head coach until 2025, or maybe even later than that. And so they are learning on the fly. They've acknowledged it. I think the competency thing will come with time, but I think it might be too much to expect it right now.
Going to be a lot of rake stepping. A lot of stepping on rakes. We'll continue. Let's really quickly hit to the Houston Texans. They're going to be without Nico Collins. They have some offensive line injuries. Is there an opportunity for the Patriots here to tap into that? Our friend Bill Simmons, or my friend Bill Simmons, used to call it the Ewing theory. When the best player goes out, this was late 90s Knicks, best player goes out, all of a sudden there's a bump that the rest of the franchise gets. And that used to happen with the Knicks and Patrick Ewing. Ewing theory. I don't know if Jacoby Brissett is on the same level as Pat Ewing. However, can there be a bump?
I gotta be honest. I'm very familiar with the Ewing theory. I did not envision that being brought up as it relates to Jacoby Brissett's demotion.
We have a good time. We have laughs.
So I think there is a chance that they're energized by this. Being in the locker room yesterday, I did feel that a little bit. And especially talking to defensive players, I think you could argue that they have been done the greatest disservice of anybody in the organization when it comes to the quarterback play here over the last couple of years. It's just put in bad spots all the time. Bad field position, too much time on the field. And so I'm sensing a little bit of energy from the defense. And so sure, you try to ride that wave. You're at home. Are they going to win this game? I don't think so. But can they show a little bit more juice? Can they provide a more watchable product? Can it be a little bit more exciting for everybody that follows this team? Of course. It has to be. Can it go any lower?
Oh, yeah, I've seen worse. What do we say when when Matt got benched last year? Well, that's as bad as it gets. 6-0 against the Chargers. That was tough. They were all tough. That was tough.
Fair.
We waited until Thursday. It's a television show, too, so we're going to throw this back to the studio so they can prep this thing for you people to watch at 6 o'clock. Make sure you check out the Aftermath Pod. Phil will bring us up to date on the locker room goings on after the game on Sunday. Pre-game live, post-game live. We'll have all the details on how it went against the Houston Texans in Week 1 for Drake Maye.